You're on the air.
We're eating really good sandwiches, and we're welcoming you to another show of Dan and John talk about the meaning of life. Dan made sandwiches today, which are really good.
And it does say on our Patreon page and our Facebook page that we would talk about sandwiches. This isn't a show about sandwiches today, but we're enjoying sandwiches, and I'm sure you can hear that.
So we promise to talk about what really makes a good sandwich, and there's a lot of meaning in that, right? In fact, a good sandwich gives meaning to just about anything, right? Because when you've had a good sandwich, you can then tackle what's next, right? Today we're talking about wealth. And what's the meaning of wealth, and how do you define wealth, and what kind of wealth do we need to actually feel satisfied? Or, this capitalistic system we work in says we need a certain amount of money to live on and keep the wolf from the door.
It's estimated that 25% of our population in the United States of America lives below the poverty line.
Is it 25%? That's not good.
That's a quarter of our population living below a sustainable amount of money and wealth. And I think all of us know, the 1% own 99% of all the wealth. The rest of the 99% on the planet of 7 billion people own as much wealth as the 1% own. So that's just on a monetary level. That's just the amassing of, I have more grains of rice than you do. So that's one way. That's one way of looking at wealth. And we do spend a lot of time trying to generate shekels and doubloons and grains of rice. We spend a lot of waking hours, and I was relating a story to you earlier while we were working before the podcast about a gentleman that I know who operates, he's a multimillionaire, but he operates from the place of deprivation.
Meaning even though he's got everything, multiple homes and a jet and staff and a business or several businesses, it's not enough. He never has enough, and that's what drives him to build his pile of rice 20 feet tall, but it's still not enough.
Even higher at all times. And that's fascinating. When you meet CEOs or people of business, usually men, but not singular to only men, but usually it's men, this drive to have more and to destroy those who you would think could get more than you, or could get into your rice bowl, as it were. It's fascinating, and
it's more like a rice tub or a rice pool.
A rice pool,
a kiddie pool
filled with Uncle Ben's.
Right, 20 of them, and that's not enough.
That's not enough. And if you even look at my 20 pools, I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to stomp you and take care of you. So that's operating from deprivation emotionally, that there's something lacking. This amassing of wealth which is fascinating to me, that we are in this sort of, the scale is so tipped in amassing of rice. There's something emotionally or spiritually lacking that I need to surround myself with as much as possible in order to feel like I have value, a real purpose in life, to amass more. And I know it's a cliche, and I know that's a cliche, but people do that rather than looking inside. And I have a quote on a chalkboard at home, the very well-known Gandhi quote about, be aware of what you think, because what you think is how you act. Be aware of how you act, because how you act becomes your destiny. And that's a real truncated version of that quote. But you are what you think, and what you resist persists, right?
Yes. I've seen that.
as truth.
I've seen that, and I think we were talking earlier about. I think there's a difference between man's desire to hold off the wolf and have comforts and protection and defense against the randomness of nature. You know, a dwelling, a reliable food source, a reliable water source, neighbors I trust. That goes back since man started doing tribal communities. That's
right.
And cooperative, communal, you know, joint safety, one for all for one, help each other, you know, it's very practical, and the tribe survives. But when you have bounty and excess and ego and pride and the 7 deadly sins thrown into the rice bowl, a rice bowl for one becomes a massive rice bowl for one, and then you're forced to protect it, and you get into, you know, value and ethics games and power shit that forces, in the modern age, you know, the addictions to excess, like capitalism's, you know, is a construct that is based on acquiring and maintaining huge mountains of rice that completely replace the tribal balance or equilibrium that was the original reason to kind of get to some comfort and some predictable, you know, to avoid having the wolf at the door every day and night, or slaughtering each other coming through each other's houses. And so where I'm getting to that is your example of this guy that has all the houses in the jet that you told me before the show is he's completely removed from his original need to have some sort of predictable environment, and he's now into total domination.
Right.
A soulless domination.
And when you, in the scheme of things, in how our country here in the U.S. operates, he's a small fish. He's not even part of the 1%, but...
Oh, he's probably part of the 1%, but he's at the lower part.
Lower part, yeah. I would agree with that. But it's staggering to me when I come away from him and I look at how I operate in my life, in my family, in my home. When I look around my home, the amount of art on my walls, the furniture that I have, the way I consume entertainment, the screens, the tablets, the phones. And in truth, I'm incredibly wealthy.
Yes, you are.
Incredibly wealthy. I'm still vertical. I get up every morning and I can do my work. I have a lovely family that loves me, and this pet that wags her tail no matter what every morning. I'm incredibly wealthy. I can go off to my yoga class. I meditate every day. I have all of this, but there are still times where I feel like I'm lacking, that I don't have enough.
You don't have enough stuff?
Don't have enough centered peace to feel like I'm at wealth. You know, I can't, I'm not at a place yet working on it. And that's what my point of view about wealth right now is, about getting to a place where it actually doesn't matter about the work I do. I could live in a mud hut. Acceptance of where I'm at is wealth.
Yeah, that's really, that has helped me personally when I started to meditate, and I got to, you know, I am a lot more stable inside in terms of spending a lot of time in a comfort zone and not being worried about the wolf at the door or unpredictable, unavoidable shit that can happen at a moment's notice. You know, I'm under this big wooden beam right now that could fall in an earthquake, but I'm not worried about it because, you know, I can't control it, so I give into it. I just let it be. But it sounds like your path is trying to work with that in a balanced human way, about that spot in you that is not fully plumbed or
fully realized.
Realized, where this guy who has everything, he's operating from deprivation. His way of operating from that space is to acquire, dominate, and put down others to kind of, that's his way of dealing.
which, and I understand. I understand the psychology on it. There could be numerous white papers written about why he continues to do this and studies.
Can't wait to read those.
But it's like he has it. A switch goes off in my head. I'm like, why in God's name can't he make a choice to give back, to share, to quiet, to walk, to sit, to fly fish, to be mindful? He's in his 50s and he has it's just one example, but it's he's a sort of this crystallized version of what's really going on from a wealth point of view, from an amassing of wealth point of view. He has all this opportunity to have peace in himself, but he's completely not at peace. I know him. I worked for him in his company. He's angry and not at peace.
Well, some people would say his path is his path, and you don't try to fix his path. You work on your own path. Your karma and dharma, and that's your job, is to be true to your path, and you don't. But when someone else's path splashes muddy water all over your rice bowl, your little rice bowl, then it's hard to just turn the other cheek and let it be. You get pissed off, and that's not good energy.
It's just. I don't know where I'm taking this, but it really, you don't need much. You don't really need much to survive. And I've looked, there's neighbors on my street who don't have much. And I can think of a neighbor, he's highly unhappy. And I know it's because he doesn't have much. He feels like he doesn't have much. And there seems to be a dominant thread through a lot of people who don't have money, but they have a roof, like you said, they have a roof over their head, they have access to clean water, clean food, maybe not the best food in the world, they have clothes on their back, they can garden, they can go out in their house, or they're in an apartment building, but there's a lack of peace and there's a lack of true wealth. It's sort of a sickness, and we talk about cancer, we talk about diabetes, and we talk about obesity. That to me is a lack of wealth. That is the symptom of deprivation.
Is to have one of those conditions?
Yeah, I really firmly believe that. I firmly believe that if you are overeating bad food, it's because you feel you don't have what you need to have peace in your life.
So you're compensating in another way.
Yeah.
So you create the sensation of wealth without having true wealth?
Yeah.
Or you temporarily medicate through whatever, quote unquote.
Food, booze, you get addicted to cortisol and adrenaline because you love stress, so you work all the time. But there is all this avoidance of wealth. And I'm talking about wealth, being at peace, being able to say something true and honest and helpful to a person one time a day, to really be present and supportive to your partner, wife or husband, be supportive, listen, and teach your children.
Well, do you remember Citizen Kane?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a classic film, a fantastic film, the top 10 of all time, by a genius, Orson Welles, in my view. And was it the last scene he said Rosebud?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it?
Very end. Yeah, he was dying, and Rosebud was the sled.
And he never found his happy place. He had everything. It was a beautiful film about excess and about
greed and avarice and
rice bowls the size of a mansion.
Yeah, and and it was never enough. It never fed him. And so we have this incredible inequality of the 1% and the 99% and the slogging and struggling through and trying to pick up scraps because they feel like in order to have worth and wealth and happiness and peace, they need to be at where the 99% at. So we just kind of drone through our lives, and you don't find peace. You don't find it, and we have 25,000, normal human being. We're going down a rabbit hole because that's what we do here at Dan and John Talk About. But a normal male human being lifespan in the U.S. is 75 years.
Okay.
25,650 days.
Okay.
Now, if
do I have to count every day?
Well,
Because what if I get to 24,999 and I go, shit, tomorrow is the last one?
well, that's really a good point, and this is from a friend of mine, and I think I've told you this. Maybe we even did it in a podcast. It's like, so if you imagine that you have everything you want in your life, John, all the money you want, wealth, all the friends you want, wealth, all the happiness you want, all the perfect house, all the clothing, all the food, all the water. It's all taken care of. You're loved, nourished, and you're at peace. Imagine that. So you have that. You can imagine that as a meditation, okay? What's the one limitation we have?
Time.
Yeah, time. So what are you going to do with it? So I think about that when I think about wealth. What am I going to do with the time I have left to really create wealth? And some people choose a path that I can't control. It's a locus of control shift. I can't do anything about that. They choose a path where they amass as much rice and put fences around their rice fields and paddies and put little workers in there to make sure they have more rice. Some people do that and don't achieve peace.
Well, that's what has been kind of good for me, is getting off a timeline and trying to not think about the way we celebrate a birthday every year and we get older and what is older and what was younger, and accepting it, being practical about age and aging. And this woman told me once, aging isn't for amateurs.
Oh, that's good.
It is good.
Yeah.
It is a serious endeavor, growing old well, but it kind of helps to not think about it, because then you can enjoy what's happening now. And Native Americans, some of them had a viewpoint when the cavalry came through that today is a good day to die, as they rode their horses into the cavalry out on the American prairie on behalf of the tribe. That we're going in, we're outnumbered, we're outgunned, but we're going in because today's a good day to die, because as a warrior you stood up for your worldview, and they accepted that.
Well, they accepted that death was not separate from life.
Yes.
And we spend all our time
trying to
separate ourselves from death. When in truth, it is our neighbor, it is our lover that lives with us all the time.
So are you saying then wealth is acceptance of the
phenomenon of death?
The spontaneousness, the spontaneity of life and death in the now?
Yeah.
And so if you can live with that, then everything else is gravy?
Gravy. You're vertical. You can put a sweater on. You have a place to put your ass to poop every day that is clean and nice. That's gravy. That is gravy.
So maybe you get... So wealth is actually... Well, I guess wealth is accepting the moment, because then if you do that, everything else is gravy.
Gravy. A big ladleful over the top of your head. I mean, it really is, if I'm really working on, personally, I'm working on every day, I wake up and I'm trying to and I'm going to get a little woo-woo for you here, folks. I'm working to clear my chakras,
Oh, good stuff.
right?
Yes.
Just it's okay. Root chakra, the procreation chakra, the tummy, the heart, the third eye, just clear those. Just make sure that you're present and we make it up every day.
So you're saying from
We make
from
it up
the bottom
every
of your ass to the top of your head.
Just clear it. Like, okay, I'm here. All right, shake it out, and it's not. And we make it up every day, John. Yes, we have to. I have to get up. I don't have to get up, but I get up. I make breakfast for my family because that's something I love to do. I make my daughter a lunch. I make coffee and tea for myself and my wife. We get everybody ready and out the door, and I'm able to stay home. So those are tasks that I do, but that's separate from how I make it up every day. I can make it up however I want every day. I can make it be as bad as I want or as good as I want.
Oh, I believe in that.
Our mind is, our brain. We can decide to be in the past all day, or we can future cast, or we can be in the moment. We have that choice. A lot of people don't think that. A lot of people don't feel that.
Well, that is...
And to get to a place where, we're going to circle back around to wealth, when you can get to a place where you can actually think, I can change, I can alter my moods. My hormones will change by having specific thoughts, by firing certain neurons.
It's like that movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? You talked about you can change reality by the way your brain is wired.
It's physiology.
It's and yeah, it's what you're talking about. You're talking
thinking behavior loop. So if you think it, you're going to behave it. If you think it, you're going to feel something. When you feel something, a hormonal thing happens. Right? I'm going to think about the time that I snapped my femur. Fight or flight starts in your. I never broke my leg. But if you're thinking about something that was bad, you might start. A hormonal shift happens in your body.
Yes, for sure.
Fight or flight happens. You go back because your mind, your limbic brain doesn't know time. That memory of smelling cookies and grandma's or breaking your leg when you were 6 is now to your brain. It is now. So physiologically, your hormonal and endocrine system start firing cortisol or adrenaline, and all of a sudden your next time you order coffee, the person says, would you like room for cream? Yeah, I want room for cream. Because you're all fired up, because your brain is thinking you're gone, right? You're gone in some memory. And you're operating in a world where you have to talk with people in the present time, but you're gone. Do you see what I mean? So that's not wealth. Wealth is being in the moment, knowing that you can make it up at any time, knowing that you don't have to go down that path, knowing that no matter what your circumstances, even if you're making minimum wage, even if your body's unhealthy, that you have choice. That's wealth to me. That's wealth to me. And all I know is I can only control myself. It doesn't mean I don't have feeling or empathy or compassion for many of the people I see or situations I see every day, but I can only control me. I can't control you. You can't make me do anything. I can't make you do anything. So that, to me, I am circling back, is wealth. Knowing I can't control anything and all I can do is make it up every day the way I want it to be.
So
that's wealth.
How did we move from, if you say that state is a state of awareness and a state of peace that comes from knowing you can create choice and...
That's a good sandwich.
It is a good sandwich that you made today. If we if we knew that, how did we leave that? And if we have that intelligence and that ability, how did we move from that to thinking that money is happiness, and enough money is like, oh, life's good from here out.
What is that? Where did that come from? Where did that? I don't know, John. It's a damn good question.
Well, I think it came from that when you have enough, you can buy the right to be lazy and not have to do stuff. And you get addicted to not having to do stuff or to work hard. And then the machine, the capitalistic machine said, you should work hard because then you can drive a better car or have a bigger house. So you probably should own that house to begin with. And you're not something until you have something.
We were talking about that earlier today too.
And so we became we migrated from balance and equilibrium, harmony, tribal group harmony that lives sustainably within our needs and within our footprint, to haves and have-nots. And the haves became, I'm just trying to pose the question, well, let's just assume we know that is what's a major issue globally.
Oh God.
Stuff is king. Wealth is not anything unless it's in the form of stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Unless you go to other cultures or countries, or you become that person wherever you are, and you find the kind of wealth you're talking about, which is an inner wealth, I guess.
Oh, aren't they cute? Those little tribal people. Aren't they cute the way they live? Jesus. Look at those funny little llama men. They're so silly. Sitting all day.
Those earrings, those lips and those earrings are going down to the shoulder. Look what they did.
How do you think they dye all those saffron robes?
Well, anyway. Yeah, I guess I'm saying that the wealth, it's artificial. And it's too bad that, it does make commerce go around, makes the world spin on the commerce thing, but it's to our detriment, which we know.
And I have a belief system that, this is all, if you graph it out, it's like exponential and then crash and back up and crash.
Do you know about the ecliptic?
No.
The circulation of the constellations that form our visible constellation, they circulate on a 17,000 year path or something like that, mm-hmm. called the ecliptic, and it's basically and the bottom of it's a cycle, and some cultures view it as the cycle of time as this 17,000 year constellation. I think it was the Mayans that tied their calendar to it, and why their calendar ended is with the bottom of the ecliptic. And at the bottom of ecliptics of the cycle, the world is in a negative space, and then it climbs out over a certain amount of time up to the top, and that becomes a great period of global awareness and consciousness evolution or something like that. I've got my numbers off, I think, but that at the very bottom of the ecliptic was the Bush-Cheney administration and war on terror and shit like that. And the end of the Mayan calendar, which was actually just the beginning of the new ecliptic, supposedly. And it's a cyclical time thing. So I'm being very rough draft on this, but it has to do with coming back out of an artificial foundation based on fake wealth versus arriving at an awareness and inner centering this on the real wealth you're talking about.
Well,
based on celestial rotation.
It's true. You know, if you know anything about history, everything rises and falls. Take it, simple life. As the sea cow goes into the shallow water, the male enters her, and so the circle of life continues. I always love that Jacques Cousteau. I never forget that. As the female sea cow goes into the shallow water, the male comes to her and enters her, and so the circle of life continues. So.
And even the lowly sea cow is desirous to somebody. In fact, the male sea cow in particular, to him, she's the mermaid of the deep.
Oh my God! Then the music for Jacques Cousteau. Oh God! Anyway, I'll never forget that, sitting on the couch, 10 years old, and it was Jacques or Philippe. As the sea cow enters through shallow water. I was laughing so hard. Anyway, wow.
Maybe we should take a quick break on that note, and
that's funny.
we'll be back shortly. And at our next podcast, we have a humdinger.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the humdinger?
That is the topic of crazy cool stuff of ancient civilizations.
Oh boy, yeah. Crazy cool stuff. That's what we were talking about at break, and now we're back, and we actually have 5 more minutes, but...
Like, how did the Incas build those walls of stones weighing several tons, and they didn't have any electrical devices to carve the rock? Or how did the Mayas build those roads that you can walk at night because the stone reflects the moonlight? You can see your way through the forest.
Miles and miles of these pathways that are lit, and we can't have our highways lit properly. I mean, and these are the ancient, non-modern people that figured it out.
That were so behind and
backward. Because they cooked on open flames and tortillas and walked around barefoot, so therefore they couldn't have possibly been as bright as we are.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that is going to be a great topic, because there is some amazing stuff that has been discovered and known that will blow the lid off all the stuff we were brought up to believe about those dumb old cultures way back when.
Oh yeah, and then to wrap up wealth, one last thing which may go into another topic very soon, talking about the brain and how the brain wires, is around wealth. We were talking about, boy, why is it that we're so deprived? And I really believe that our cerebral cortex and our frontal cap, we're very good at numbers, math, language. The reasoning part, the thinking part of our brain is highly developed. We can build solid state phones and deliver them for no money. We can send, Mars rovers. We can do whatever we want, right? Technology and the ability to move us with cars and planes and trains and automobiles any way we want, and we're very good at it. But our emotional selves, our deeper part of ourselves, our subconscious, has not caught up. We're very immature as a species. I really feel that, and I feel a responsibility in my one life, my one lifetime, to raise that consciousness. That's my job for wealth.
That's cool.
You know?
And well, that's why we're doing the show.
Yeah.
That's part of our give back, is to provide a forum to share and to have other people share with us and with others, their stories with us and other listeners about how they are creating wealth or finding meaning, whatever that meaning is, external, internal. So that's cool.
Absolutely. So till next time, you may not have liked this, but we did.
Yeah, an illegitimately known carborundum, which my dad used to say, which was, don't let the bastards get you down.
So true. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you next time.